IST gathering to rise for the prayer, followed by Tamil Daivarko. By the right person achieves miracles. The meticulous and dedicated secretary of this glorious institution, Sri S. Ravindran, will now take this opportunity to welcome the gathering and introduce the chief guest.
The chief guest of today's function, Sri S. Gurumurthy, India's greatest columnist and economist, members of the governing council, special invitees, principal, directors, staff, parents, representatives of the press, and my dear students, good morning to everybody. As secretary of this institution, I have great pleasure in extending a warm and cordial welcome to our distinguished chief guest and to one and all assembled here for this 16th College Day celebration. Our chief guest is always a very busy person, and we profoundly grateful to him for accepting our invitation to preside over the function, deliver the College Day address, and distribute the prizes in spite of his tight schedule. Our chief guest is so well known that he hardly needs any introduction, yet formality requires a formal introduction. Sri Gurumurthy, though familiarly known as Auditor Gurumurthy, is very much more than that. He is a multifaceted, multi-dimensional personality, towering intellectual, original thinker, chartered accountant, corporate advisor, investigative journalist, a keen student of law, finance, politics, economics, philosophy, religion, and whatnot. Sri Gurumurthy is a veritable phenomenon and a rare combination of tradition and modernity. His Guru Bhakti to the Kanchi Acharyas is marvelous. He is also well known as the trusted counselor of celebrated Ramnath Goenka. He cultivated association with Goenka, or rather Goenka cultivated association with our chief guest when Goenka was 72 and our chief guest was 27. One wonders who was the advisor to whom. Goenka describes him as a brilliant chartered accountant and exceedingly astute lawyer with an outstanding knowledge of economics, finance and accounts. Hamish MacDonald, an Australian journalist, described his writings as the most powerful example of investigative journalism. He has contributed numerous thought-provoking articles to the Hindu Business Line, New Indian Express and India Today. He aims at molding public opinion on matters of national importance. He never aspired for any government job. On the contrary, he declined several positions offered to him by different governments. He has been invited as a visiting guest faculty of IIT Mumbai and a distinguished professor of Tumkur University to guide research faculty on economic issues. He is also a renowned exponent of Swadeshi movement, re-emerging after 5 decades of Indian independence and one of the All India co-conveners of Swadeshi Jharkhand Manch. To say that he is a good speaker is to say that milk is white. I am very sure that his address today will be a treat to all of you. To put it in a nutshell, he is an all-rounder and an exceedingly superior role model for the younger generation of today. I appeal to our students to try to emulate him to the extent possible. Coming to our institution, this college was founded by Vidya Seva Ratnam Sri Santanam in the year 1998, who named the college after his guru and the greatest ever principal of National College, namely Saranathan. Within a short span of 16 years, our college has progressed by leaps and bounds. Our college is the most sought after college in this region. The college, which was started with 3 branches at the undergraduate level, now offers 11 programs, 6 at the undergraduate level and 5 at the postgraduate level, including MBA and MCA. There has also been a corresponding increase in the strength of staff and students. Our results and placement record are both excellent. This year we have started a book bank for the benefit of the needy students. Our founder had established a tradition of identifying and acknowledging merit among students and teachers by liberal awards. Today, the best outgoing students of the college will receive a cash award of ₹3,000. The best outgoing student in each branch will receive a cash award of ₹2,000. The first 3 toppers in each branch for all the 3 years will receive a cash award of ₹2,000, 1,500 and 1,000 respectively. Staff and students who have put in 100% of attendance for all the years, for all the 4 years will get a cash award of ₹2,000. These prizes will be awarded by the chief guest presently. Finally, a word to the students. Success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of diligent, dedicated and disciplined efforts. Unless God chooses to crown your efforts with success and glory, all your efforts will be in vain. You are born to win. Wish you all the best. Thank you all.
Honor him. Dr. R. Jagannathan, Vice President of our society, will present a memento to the chief guest.
I have immense pleasure in presenting the annual report of the college for the academic year 2013-14. Saranathan College of Engineering has completed 15 successful years in the course of technical education in Trichy. During these years, the college has made significant progress in all spheres under the able guidance of our founder secretary, the late Vidya Seva Ratnam Sri K. Santanam, and the present secretary Sri S. Ravindran. Our college continues to be the most sought after college in this region for admissions. In this year also, almost all the seats have been filled both in UG and PG programs. Our students have achieved very good results as in previous years, thanks to their hard work and sustained efforts of faculty. Our 2009-13 batch has obtained 67 university ranks. They have brought laurels not only to the institution but also to their families. Ms. T. Vaishnavi has secured the first rank in ICE among the colleges attached to the 10th Anna University Trichy. Hearty congratulations to the student and the department. Our college has got 10 ranks in CSE, 15 ranks in ECE, 14 in EEE, 3 in ICE, 15 in IT, 11 in Mechanical, 3 in MCA and 1 in MBA. Our faculty is a blend of senior and young faculty who has ensured that we remain as #1 college in Zone 13 in terms of admission and placement. The Department of Trichy was accredited by National Board of Accreditation consecutively for the second time. Hearty congratulations to the department and the faculty members of the department. The technical paper presented by Mr. Venkata Subramanian of CSE department was added as the guest paper at IEEE sponsored International Conference of Communication and Computer Vision at RVS College of Engineering, Coimbatore. He is a Microsoft certified professional, means Mr. Venkatesubramanian, Mrs. Bhavani, Mr. Silambarasan and Mr. Venkarajan of our college have been certified as trainers for promoting the cloud computing services by ICT Act. Dr. Jayaprakash of Mechanical Department has delivered series of technical lectures in the AICT sponsored FTPs conducted at various colleges. Faculty members of EEE department have delivered invited talks at Anna University and at Energy Conservation Day celebration organized by Chief Electrical Inspectorate, Chennai. Mr. A. Mohan, HOD of Mathematics, was one among the 6 resource persons identified by the Anna University for the bridge course for mathematics teachers of engineering colleges conducted by Anna University, Chennai. Mrs. Uma, HOD of English, was invited as resource person to Anna University teaching to conduct a workshop on effective English for engineering students, sponsored by TECO, Anna University, Chennai. In addition to teaching, many of the faculties are actively involved in research in various areas. Legal Research Council headed by our Dean R&D. At present, among the faculty, we have 20 doctorates and 31 who are pursuing PhD work. Departments of EEE and ECE have been recognized as research centers for pursuing collaborative research with Anna University, Chennai. Mrs. C. Venila of ECE department has obtained the PhD degree in VLSI design from NIT Trichy. Professor D. Kalyan Kumar has obtained PhD degree from the NIT Center, Gandhidham University. Dr. M. Arunshali, Dr. M. Shanti, Dr. C. Venila and Dr. Jayaprakash are newly recognized as research supervisors of Anna University, Chennai. Dr. M. Arunshali is a member of Syllabus Committee for Anna University, Chennai. The ongoing research work of Mr. Lenin Prakash in the area of hybrid PV wind system has got a grant of 5 lakhs under the Research Promotion Scheme of AICT. Congratulations to Mr. Lenin. Dr. M. Arunshali and Ms. Vijayalakshmi of EEE department are reviewers of reputed journals. All the departments have significant number of publications in reputed journals and international industry conferences. So they are contributed by both faculty and students of the departments. The computer support group of the college has been providing computer services for the entire college. This year, the college has procured computers and peripherals worth 25 lakhs. CSG has been actively involved in providing cloud services to our sister institution, Mahatma Gandhi Centenary Vidyalaya, video streaming throughout the campus, giving access to the cloud server from girls' hostel and centralized monitoring system for security. In addition to the existing infrastructure facilities in all the departments, new equipment have been procured to fulfill the requirements of university curriculum and to match the technical demands. The Department of Computer Applications having received a grant of 2 lakhs conducted an AICT sponsored technical seminar on cryptography and network security during January 2014. The Department of Mechanical Engineering has received a grant of 1 lakh from Anna University, Chennai and conducted a FTP on heat and mass transfer. All the departments have conducted series of technical workshops, seminars and guest lectures for the benefit of the students. A national level interdepartmental technical symposium, Prudential 2013, was conducted in September 2013. Departments of EEE and ECE have brought up the e-magazine containing technical and general articles of the faculty and students. To promote the interactions between institutes and industries, the Department of ICE has signed an MOU with NI Instruments and Yokogawa, Chennai. To strengthen the core competency skills of the students and in the virtual instrumentation, distributed control systems and programmable logic controllers. 2 MOUs were signed by EEE department with the 2 industries to promote consultancy services. Industry Institute Partnership Cell of EEE department headed by Dr. Kalyan Kumar has carried out a number of consultancy works including installation and commissioning of 10 kilowatt grid PV solar plant in the campus and power quality audit at Seva Gases Pvt Limited and the Andhra Pradesh Development Society of India and ICT Act have nominated 123 colleges from Tamil Nadu to establish ED cell. Out of these 50 colleges were selected for funding purposes. We are proud to mention that Sangharam College of Engineering is one among them. Our college has been selected as one of the 23 nodal centers by IIT Chennai to execute and promote the objectives of QIC. Recently, we have conducted one-day workshop on objectives of QIC, and the senior faculty members from 16 colleges attached to our nodal center have participated. Our college has become a forerunner in using the online resources for improving the quality in teaching and learning process. Students of the Women Empowerment Cell have actively participated in memorandum to create awareness about the breast cancer exhibition cum sale program has been arranged to benefit the rehabilitation center of physically challenged women. Mr. Balamurugan and Mr. Chandrakumar as coordinators of NSS and YRC have organized health awareness program, PAN card, service camp, blood donation camp, eye and dental checkup camps in the college. As in previous years, a special NSS camp was conducted in nearby village. Our library is one of the best in this region. In this academic year, we have purchased 1,712 books at a cost of 5 lakhs. We have also subscribed UGC mandatory package of e-journals, which includes IEEE, Elsevier, Springer, AXME, ASTM, McGrath, Dated Engineering and Management EBSCO journals. The total cost of this subscription is 17 lakhs. Hard copy journals are subscribed for 1 lakh. Digital library section in the library has been upgraded with virtual computers with the latest configuration and multimedia facility. Now, the highlights of the students' achievements, like the highlights of the cricket matches. Students of a student are intelligent, industrious and innovative. They have excelled in their studies and also in co-curricular and extracurricular activities and sports. Mr. Balaji Ponamalam of EEE and Ms. Niravansi of CSE have won the prestigious Mr. Tyson and Miss Tyson Rotaract Award. The paper presented by Aishwarya of Final ICE was adjudged the best paper in the National Conference on Controlled Communication and System Engineering at Tamil Nadu College of Engineering, Coimbatore. Mr. Shoban Rao of Final ICE was placed second in Robo test conducted at IIT Mumbai. Mr. Balaji Ponamalam of Final EEE has been selected for internship as one of the 14 students at NA. The student's project, guided by Dr. S. Muruganathan of Chemistry Department, has been accepted for presentation in the International Conference at Tagore College of Engineering, Mumbai. Mr. Radha Basa of 2nd MCA has won second place in the NetHut event conducted at PSC College of Technology, Coimbatore. Mr. Ambrish Vardhan of 2nd MEA has won the Best Manager Award in the National Level Management Meet organized by Sri Vivekananda Institute of Technology, Tanjavur. I am very proud to inform that our college students are not only good at studies but also in sports and games. In Anamisi Interzonal Table Tennis Tournament, men conducted at Abdul Hakim College of Engineering and Technology, our college team won the runners-up trophy. In Anamisi Zone 13 Table Tennis Tournament for men conducted at our college team won the first place. They have retained the same position in district level competitions held at BHL, Anna Stadium, Amrita Vidyalayam, Naidu Sangam and BITS Tandu. In Anna University Interzone basketball tournament for women was conducted at Dayam College of Engineering and Technology. Our college women's basketball team, including Niveka final year ECE and D. Pradeepa final year ICE, were placed 4. Our college is winner in Anna University Zone 13. In badminton, our college women's team has won the second position. The team was led by S. Divya Bharati of final year ICE. In chess competitions, our college team secured the runners-up position in Anna University Zone 13 under the captaincy of Mr. Karthikeyan of final year ECE. S. Teacher of second year ECE has won the gold medal in state level shooting competitions held at Coimbatore. In Anna University Interzonal boxing tournament, M. Aravindan Jammunathan, third year mechanical, won the third place. In Anna University Zone 13 athletic meet held at JJCT, M. Kushokana, third CSC, won the second place in high jump. M. Aravindan had the third place in 20 km race. Also, MPS R2. We have secured third position among the colleges in the Zone 13 of Anna University, Chennai. The boys hostel in the campus has a total of 260 inmates. This year, we have opened a new hostel for girls and 80 students are staying in the hostel. We have been providing excellent accommodation, wholesome food, academic environment, and recreational facilities to the hostel inmates. Computer and library facilities are exclusively available for the hostel inmates to facilitate the utility of online resources. The college has included TNP hour as part of the academic timetable to provide all students with basic language and aptitude skills through in-house faculty trained in this sphere. In addition to this, and as a part of our overall strategy to enhance the employability of our students, we have outsourced the provision of soft skills and aptitude training professional organizations. Our students were trained by Happy Minds, Launchpad, Smart, and Space agencies. As part of Campus Connect initiative of Infosys, we were able to arrange for industry specialists like Mr. Sadhari Krishnan and Ms. Deevan Ayuri to participate in our college functions. The Department of English and TNP conducted diagnostic tests for BEC course for the students of engineering stream, and 70 students have cleared the diagnostic test. Contrary to the normal practice and in response to the trends in the placement market, we have still kept our 2013 placement open since quite a few companies are looking for graduates from 2013. 166 of these students have been placed so far, and the numbers are likely to go up with a few drives scheduled in the next few weeks. In the current final year, 1 or 2 students have already been placed, and the numbers could increase substantially after the job fair that will be conducted in the college. Company-wise placement figures: Infosys 31, Econ 5, CTS 34, Sutherland 2, Sanskrit 5, OneGlobe 2, Digital Nirvana 1, Commonwealth 1, Digital Aluminium 1, eCare 4, CSS 90. So total 105. Hearty congratulations to the students who have placed, and the TNP department headed by Mr. Gopal Iyer and the TNP coordinators of the departments. Ms. Ramya Devi, a final year IT who has been placed in Commonwealth Technologies, has been offered a stipend of 20,000 per month for 6 months. I am extremely happy. I express my sincere thanks to the management, teaching, non-teaching and office staff and the students for maintaining an ambience conducive to academic studies and social harmony. My special thanks to the Secretary, Director, Dean R&D for the constant support, cooperation, guidance and encouragement, and to execute all the activities of the college. It is always our endeavor to do better year by year. Thank you.
Coincidence between our founder secretary and our chief guest. Both of them have started their career as chartered accountants. Having dedicated himself to the cause of education, our founder secretary had founded many educational institutions. Now, I request our chief guest to deliver the college day address to this august gathering.
The respected secretary of this great institution who gave the welcome address, and the principal of this institution, Dr. Revati, Director, Professor D. Nagarajan, and Vice President of the College Committee, Mr. Jagannathan, and the Dean Research and Development, Sri Venkatramani, and Sri Gopalan Iyer, Head of the Department of Training and Placement, whose constant follow-up made me stand before all of you and speak today. And the faculty members, parents, students. I am extremely happy to be with you on your college day, to share my thoughts on this occasion and to implore you to think in the way I have been trying to think in the last 30 years or so. You know, you heard the comprehensive report that was given by the principal, and it is the collective work of the management, faculty, students. And more than that, there is an ecosystem. Unless there is an atmosphere in which performance is possible, nobody can perform. So there is an atmosphere which is a collective work, and over and above the collective work of everyone, there must be some role models, examples, otherwise you can't create an ecosystem for performance. So their ecosystem has been generated not in 1 year. It has been generated over a period, and that is the social capital of Saranathan College. And it is not one team. It is the continuous work of several people. So I am happy that this institution has created an ecosystem, an atmosphere in which performance becomes an important escalator in the life of a student, apart from merely studying and procuring degrees. It is of course important, but it should not be limited to that. A degree is actually a certificate to promote your confidence. It doesn't testify your knowledge. Knowledge is something far, far beyond your degrees and diplomas and even your marks. It's a continuous pursuit. And I would like Saranathan Institute to create this feeling in students that they are now eligible to learn more. It is not that they have learned, that they are eligible to learn more as they leave this institution is an important message that must be added to whatever you people are doing, and whatever you have done seems to be an extremely credible job. But I would like to add this: studentship never ceases. It has never ceased in my case. And as I study more and more, observe more and more, go and meet people more and more, I feel the whole society is an open-air university from which you can keep learning and learning. It depends upon your willingness to learn and your appetite for learning and your tenacity to be humility, to have humility. There is only one bar to learning, that is ego. Arrogance is a full stop on learning. So long as you have the humility to learn, then the learning process is almost limitless. So my appeal to you is, the Indian tradition is to inculcate humility in a person. And so long as you are humble, you are a student. And everybody should remain a student for life. And that is how learning becomes a continuous process. Now I was introduced as a chartered accountant who is also a visiting faculty in the IIT of Bombay. You know, in my life, much of what happened has been accidents. I became a chartered accountant by accident because I did not get my SSLC certificate for 1 year because I was underaged. So I passed out the examination without completing 15 years on 1st of January 1964. So my certificate was withheld. So instead of being an engineer, I became a chartered accountant. And then I became a journalist by accident. Now I am teaching by accident. I have not planned for any of these things except that I was willing to learn. That may be probably why I have been made to pass through series of accidents. And each one of these accidents only by my ego as I can appropriate as my successes. Otherwise these are pure accidents in life. Now I will tell you the story of how I became the faculty in IIT Bombay. You know, in the year 2010, December, the IIT Bombay had invited me to deliver a lecture in their annual management faculty meet called the Avenues. That year's theme was Avenues. And I was the speaker next after a very well-respected, a very well-known industrialist. I don't want to mention his name. And of course, my speech as well as his speech are available on the YouTube. You can go through it. And he spoke ahead of me. And he said that Indians knew about everything, about arts, music, science, culture, religion, God, but they did not know about economics. India began to grow in economics as an economic performer, and we understood the value of wealth and prosperity. We understood the value of a comfortable standard of living only when globalization came as a boon to all of us and put us on an escalator for growth. Until then we were a hungry nation, we were an illiterate nation, we were a superstitious nation, we were a backward nation. And it is only the British who came and taught us some English, and so we began growing as an economy. And only after 1990s, we began to grow. You know, after he completed the speech, which was most brilliantly drafted with the support of economists, statisticians, of course an industrialist has the support of all this infrastructure. The entire IIT faculty, staff, students, invitees gave a standing ovation to him. And I was shocked, because this was the view in 1978. Why I say 1978, I will come to you later, that India was an underperforming nation, that India could not develop without aid from abroad, that Indians have no history of economic growth and development and prosperity, and they worshipped poverty. And simplicity was equated to poverty, and these kind of theories were being hawked all around the world by none other than our own economists, our own historians. And I was to speak next. I had to tell the truth without offending my earlier speaker. So I began to say what I am going to tell you now. I said that it is true that in the year 1978, Professor Raj Krishna, who was a very celebrated economist, a socialist thinker, who was also advising the government of India about the economic policies that should be pursued. From about 1957, India was following the socialist model of development till 1991. So in this period, Professor Raj Krishna and thinkers like him were laying down the policies for development. But at that time there were other socialist countries like Russia, Poland, Yugoslavia, other East European countries. Of course, China was not an example at that time because it was growing slowly as compared to India. And these socialist countries which I mentioned to you, Russia, Poland, and other East European countries, Yugoslavia, they were growing faster. 8%, 9% growth rate. But India was growing at the rate of 3 to 4% growth rate at that time. So a question was put to Professor Raj Krishna. Dr. Raj Krishna, we are following the same policies as other socialist countries. How is it that with the same policies they are growing faster, and with the very same policies we are growing slow? I don't know why Professor Raj Krishna, whether he found there was no answer to give, or he wanted to insist the question, or he wanted to laugh it away. He said, what do we do? This is Hindu rate of growth. This country can only achieve this much. There is a structural weakness in India. And so long as it follows Hindu culture, Hindu tradition, Hindu value systems, it will only grow like this. You know, this one slip on the part of Professor Raj Krishna, it was picked out of context by the president of the World Bank, Robert McNamara. And he must have addressed at least half a dozen conferences all over the world. Here is an admission by an Indian economist that India is incapable of growing, that it is a structurally disabled society, a mentally, physically, intellectually challenged society. And so we need to give aid to India. He began begging the rich countries to offer aid to India. This was the brand development of India in 1978, 79, 80, 81, 82. But in 83 something very different happens. One Paul Bairoch, a Belgian economist, studied the world economic history between 1750 and 1900. And he came out with astounding findings that in 1750 somebody tabulated the economic growth of different countries. China was number 1 with 34% of world GDP. India was number 2 with 24.5% of world GDP. And America and England put together 2%. 1750, China number 1 with 34%, India number 2 with 24.5%, and America and England put together just 2%. The whole thing changes upside down in 1900. England and America, which were just 2%, they go to 41%. China and India, which were 58.5% together, come down to 8%. They crash in 150 years. India 1.8% from 24.5%. China 6.2% from 34%. In this 150 years, the power shifts from Asia to Europe. And when Paul Bairoch conducted this study, the West was shaken. Because their understanding of history, economics, sociology, and their own style of life is that we were always a prosperous society. But here is a finding which shows that Asia was more prosperous, India was more prosperous, China was more prosperous than the prosperous nations of today. So, the West decided to conduct a final study whether what Paul Bairoch said was true or not. Paul Bairoch came out with these findings in the year 1983. 5 years after Professor Rajkrishna said that India is incapable of growing because there is a catch in India's overall structure, psychological, physical, cultural, historic. There is a catch. It can never grow. After 5 years, Paul Bairoch said India was a developed economy. It shook the West. So they conducted a study through the OECD countries, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which consists of 23 richest countries in the world, have a network, and they instituted a Development Studies Institute. Whatever I am saying, you can note down and go into the website because it's all open source. All the information is available. Angus Madison, who was perhaps the greatest economic historian the world produced, he was made to head the Development Studies Institute, and he was given a platoon of sociologists, economists, statisticians, historians to conduct a study on the world economy, not for 150 years as Paul Bairoch said, but 2000 years. From the first year of the Common Era, when Jesus was supposed to have been born, to 2000. Angus Madison came out with this study in the year 2001. He took 18 years of research and he postulated, if what Paul Bairoch says is correct, I don't believe it is correct. That's what he said. I don't believe he is correct. But what he says is correct. The West has achieved this kind of growth and performed well, not because of any scientific precocity, the very word scientific precocity, or financial superiority, or other organizational skill. It can only be attributed to colonial exploitation. This is what Angus Madison postulated, that if what Paul Bairoch says is true, West did not come up on account of its own efforts, but because of colonial exploitation. This inference is inevitable if what Paul Bairoch says is true. Because you cannot go from 2% to 41%. You can go from 20 to 41%. Somebody cannot crash from almost 60% to 8%. So Angus Maddison said what Paul Bairoch found cannot be true. And in the year 2001, he came out with World Economic History, a Millennial Perspective. In that he said in the first year of the Common Era, 2000 years back, if you tabulate the global economic growth, India was leading the world with 34% of world GDP and China was number 2. After 10 centuries, India was again number 1, China number 2. 14th century, India number 1, China number 2. 15th century, India and China equal. 16th century, China overtakes India. 17th century, India overtakes China. The game was between these two countries. Other countries were not on the scoreboard. 2001, the world accepted Angus Maddison's research as the most authentic economic history of the world. It is not that only Angus Maddison and Paul Bairoch did this study. The Egyptian-Roman parliamentary records show that India was following what is today known as the export-led model of growth, by which Rome was being drained of its gold by export of spices and other goods from India. And so one Pliny, the advisor to Roman cabinet, he says that unless we stop India's exports, all our gold reserves will be drained off. It's available in the Roman literature. And then Marco Polo's travelogue, it shows that the Indian ships were 3 times larger than the Greek ships and were 3 decked and were being driven by 300 crews. Greek was regarded, and even now is regarded as the largest merchant navy in the world, and India was ahead. Mahatma Gandhi says that the Indian shipping industry was killed so that the British shipping industry could flourish. You know, building of ships in the Hooghly River was banned by the British. Indian ships could not carry Indian goods from India to any country in the world. They cannot bring goods from other countries into India. Orders were passed by the British to kill the Indian merchant navy. At the time of Emperor Akbar, India was supposed to have had 34,000 ships plying around India. The figure almost remained the same till the British came. And we had 1 million ton carrying capacity, which was very high at that time. When the British left, our merchant navy carrying capacity was only 2 lakh tons. All this is on the merchant navy records of the Government of India, which is available on the website. Then Bureau of International Settlements, which is the consolidated network of all the banks in the world, in its report in 1934 said that for 300 years, India was absorbing 14% of the world's gold production, which means that was the export surplus of India, because there was no other way to pay for gold import or for our exports. Exports over imports was 14% year after year for 3 centuries. All this is on record. I mentioned all this to the IIT people. I asked them why this is not being taught to you. I asked them, do you know about any of these things? Do you know about Angus Maddison? Do you know about Paul Bairoch's work? The entire IIT was stunned. After I completed my speech, all the staff, students, they came and surrounded me. And they said, sir, we don't want you to stop with this one lecture. We want you to conduct a course for us. Every year for 1 semester, I am taking a course on Indian economy, business and financial model. And actually I am going to begin this course this semester on the 28th of February. This is how I became a faculty member. We know nothing about India. We know nothing about our performance. We only knew we were slaves. We were taught you were not one nation. You know the kind of ignorance our education system suffers from and imposes on our students. So first we have got to get this psychological, intellectual, educational freedom. We are just carbon copying the textbooks which are dished out from the West to assess our society. I will tell you how I started understanding about India. I was also a student like you. I'm from a village. I never knew English when I came to Vivekananda College. I could not read English. It was once Swami of Vivekananda who picked up a liking for me. And I was so worried because everything that was going on in the class was English. And I didn't know. So he told me, just wait for 3 months, I will improve you. In 3 months I could understand things. Afterwards I never turned back. I became All India rank holder in CA and all that. But that's a different thing. But I was also a student like you. I was only learning and going by whatever is told to me in the class, in the textbook, in the newspapers, in libraries, where you don't find much about India. It is the wrong things of India. It's to create an inferiority complex in you. I became a corporate advisor. I was advisor to many corporates. And I continue to be. And when the globalization tsunami struck in 1991, is anybody talking there? If you are talking, I will stop. You have called me to listen, you better listen. So when the tsunami of globalization struck, at that time there was total confusion in this country. The greatest captains of Indian industry did not know how to face this problem. And many of them were told by the officials of the government of India, it is better you sell your manufacturing and go into trading, because India was always a great trader. It did not know manufacturing. You better sell your manufacturing units and become a trader. Now they are telling us, you can't even trade and hand over trade also to foreigners. What do we do? Only consume. This is the way the Indian mind was prepared at that time. One man challenged it. His name was Ratan Tata. He was told, you please don't stop manufacturing vehicles because you don't have the technology to manufacture vehicles. You don't manufacture steel because you don't have the scale. These are big scale business, big investment. You can't do it. And he challenged it and said, I will produce my own car in India. That is what proved to be the game changer. That infused confidence in the Indian corporate sector. That is one part. Then I decided that to understand India, you cannot understand India by reading newspapers or magazines or textbooks or going to universities or listening to lectures. So I started traveling across the country. I went to Ludhiana, Batala, Jalandhar, Rajkot, Jamnagar, Morbi, right down to Thoothukudi. I devoted 8 years of my time only to study societies which have put up high-class industrial performance. You know, Jalandhar is a place where all the cycle manufacturers of the world come and buy their cycle spare parts. How did Jalandhar develop like that? No university, no college, no government initiative, no research institution has studied it. When we went there, there was no university or college before Jalandhar became an industrial center. The Hero cycle, which is the largest selling cycle in the world, is located there. Why is it not in Calcutta? Not in Chennai? Not in Bombay? Why in Jalandhar? You know, the entire development, mechanical engineering development, spare parts development, machine tool manufacturing, in which it stands as one of the top centers in the world, that took place because of an artisan community by name the Ramgarhia community. I was shocked. Then I went to Jalandhar. You all know cricket. You know, Jalandhar is the place where all the cricket boards of the entire world buy their cricket bats. It is the carpenters of India who manufacture bats for England, bats for West Indies, bats for South Africa, bats for Australia. I went to a carpenter's factory where I found the proprietor had taken me to his factory and said, you look at the carpenter who is doing the willow. I pay him 150 rupees for the willow. One day he manufactured 20. Sunday he manufactured 50. See the Maruti car standing outside, that is his car. In those days only company executives used to drive Maruti car. A carpenter was driving. But you would not find this in Economic Times. Business Line won't carry this news. So I went to Jalandhar, I went to Rajkot. Rajkot is a desert, there is nothing. But it is full of prosperity. How? I was discussing with the Rajkot Industries Association president, the man who did not know one word of English, and I did not know one word of Gujarati. And we were conversing with each other through an interpreter. The only common word we knew was Rajkot. There was no other common word we knew. And then I asked him, how did this industrial growth take place here? He said in 1954, a blacksmith in the Patel community, he imported a diesel engine equipment, dismantled it and found he could manufacture it himself. He started manufacturing. And today, at that time in 1994 when I went there were 2,500 ancillary units, 55 assembling units, exporting diesel engine equipments, diesel engines to different parts of the world. Kirloskar Cummins, a joint venture with a foreign technology supplier, was sourcing its components in Rajkot, where the people who performed did not know one word of English. How many of you have known about Tirupur, which is exporting $3 billion worth in knitwear garments? A Boston University consulting team came and studied Tirupur in the year 2001. How Tirupur became an international center for producing knitwear garments. 67% of the exporters in Tirupur have studied less than 10th standard. Only 7% of them are graduates. This is a global business. You have to negotiate with foreigners. How did it develop? The cotton growers became cotton ginners, they became weavers, then became knitters. In 30 years, no university, no college. Why I am giving you these examples is, none of our universities, none of our research institutions studied how this entrepreneurial talent inheres in the Indian blood. You can never create it. You can never create an entrepreneur in a class, or on a blackboard, or in a lecture, or through a book. I was addressing the Rotaract meeting in Kodaikanal. Like you, some 150 students had come. Only this is the kind of audience which I address just like that. Because I am not a speaker. I want to share my thoughts. I don't want to get you a clap. I want to influence your thinking. So, because I have no spare time to get you a clap, I have not come here for popularity, which is the last thing in my dictionary. So when I went to the Rotaract meeting, I asked each student to stand up and say, what does he or she want to do in life? And I found out 150, nearly 60 students said, we want to do business. I was shocked, because whenever I asked these questions in IIT or IIM, only 2 or 3 out of 300 or 400 would say we would like to do business. Most of them would like to say we want to pursue higher studies, we want to go abroad, we want to become executives, we want to get employed in multinational companies. How is it that in Kodaikanal, in a Rotaract meeting, almost 1/3 of the audience says that they want to pursue business? I asked them to stand up. Somebody is from Tirupur, somebody is from Namakkal, somebody is from Karur, somebody is from Erode. So it is the society which has made them entrepreneurial minded. It is not the university, it is not the college, it is not the textbook, it is not the media. In the year 2002, India entered the Global Entrepreneurial study conducted by the London School of Economics. And they found that India was the top entrepreneurial nation in the world. In the age group of 15 to 64, 17 people out of 100 are entrepreneurs. It is 11 in China, 10 in America. Only after this finding, India was branded as an entrepreneur-led economy. Tell me, how many management institute, economic institute, engineering colleges teach this about India to Indians? There is total blackout about India in the education system. So I said something serious needs to be thought of to revamp our thinking, to revamp our approach, to understand how India can be developed and should be developed, what the Indians should be doing, Indian education system must be doing, Indian society must be doing, government must be doing, media must be doing, intellectuals must be doing. I'll give you the example of how. In the year 1993, when Dr. Manmohan Singh, who is the Prime Minister now, was the Finance Minister, he had brought one Dr. Jagdish Bhagwati, one of the most well-known economists in America, who was the person who structured the WTO, World Trade Organization. He was called the god of free trade. And he was brought to India. He was an Indian. He is an Indian. But very well respected in America, carries an American passport. He did not get Nobel Prize. But his disciple, one Paul Krugman, got the Nobel Prize in 2008. And he always acknowledged, my knowledge of economics is due to my guru, Dr. Jagdish Bhagwati. So you can understand a very reputed, very well respected person. Dr. Manmohan Singh brought him to India and asked him, we are in an economic mess. Please tell us, how can we develop? He gave a 72-page paper to the government of India as to how India can develop. And he made 3 points. India is not developing because Indians are saving more than what is necessary. They are saving, the Indian families are saving 19% equal to the GDP of India. This high savings is not good for India, and unless you are going to reduce the savings from 19% to 9%, our elders, to their husbands, they are hemmed in by these responsibilities. They must ensure, you must ensure that these responsibilities do not bother them, and their desire overtakes the responsibility. And you must get the desire to dominate the mind, then they will begin buying goods. So that you must bring attractive jewelry, textiles, cosmetic and beauty items from abroad, which will make the Indian women become consumers. This was the serious advice given by Dr. Jagdish Bhagwati to Government of India. The Government of India began doing all this. They cut down the stamp customs duties, they brought in the multinational companies, and huge advertisements. The media was happy, with which I was associated. And advertisement songs were being sung, and the Indian women sang the advertisement songs but did not buy the goods. You know, our savings to GDP ratio, which was 19% in 1991, rose up to 29% in 2009. Instead of the savings coming down, the savings went up. National savings went up from 23% to 37%. Because of that, national investment went up to 38%. Because of that, the national growth almost touched 10%, because there is a ratio between investment and growth. If you invest 4 rupees, it results in 1 rupee growth. If we achieved a 9.5% growth rate, it was because of 38% investment. It was because of your savings. The foreign investment in this 20-year period into India was just 1.8% of the total investment. It has shaken the world. The world is surprised. Because amongst the emerging economies, India is the only country which has grown because of its own domestic consumption, domestic savings, domestic investment. This prompted Goldman Sachs, which is the most leading financial bank in the world, to study India and India's infrastructure needs. In the year 2001, October, 2010 October, Global Economic Paper number 187, Goldman Sachs, you can access it in the internet. It came out with a study and said that India's infrastructure requirements for the next 10 years will be in excess of $1.7 trillion. It is 4 times more than what we had estimated in 1995-96. But for this investment, India does not need even $1 from outside, because the Indian families save so much that all the infrastructure needs of India can be met domestically because of Indian family savings. Even the media did not carry this news the next day. It carried it only for one day. I have asked the IIT students, IIM students, economic departments. Nobody knows about these things. It is because of the family, it is because of the elders, it is because of the respect for teachers. It is because of these qualities India is performing. You know, in America, they conducted a study in 2009 as to how Asian Americans, who are just 4% of American population, constitute 40% of the admission in Harvard, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon. Then they conducted a study. How is it that Americans are not getting that kind of admission? How is the Asian Americans are doing? Indians, Chinese, Taiwanese, Japanese. And they came out with this finding. It is because they obey the parents at home and teachers in the class, they perform well. You know, this is a feeling which only culture can create. This is a feeling only which can be generated by the social atmosphere. It cannot be created by law. It cannot be created by government. It cannot be created by political parties. It cannot be created by the media. It cannot be created by courts. They can all destroy this. Individual rights, students' rights, parents' rights, girls' rights, children's rights, animals' rights. The entire world is being run on rights. No sense of duty. But our entire economy is built on duty. Where do you save? Duty. You don't have the right to save. You have the right to spend. But you have a duty to save. This is called the propensity to save in economics. Where is the intellectual understanding? I find that there is total darkness about our own way of doing things. See the kind of work our women do. The entire savings of India is because of the Indian women. Do we acknowledge it? It is they who have saved India. A complete revamping of the mind is needed. We are now, as the 150th anniversary of Swami Vivekananda is over, we just recalled this great man. At the age of 30, he appeared before the World Parliament of Religions. At the age of 30, he had never made a public speech before that. His first public speech was on the 11th of September 1893. And as he stood to speak, sisters and brothers of the United States of America, 2.5 minutes people clapped. Only these 2 words. And he had only 5 minutes to speak. 2.5 minutes lost. And he had only 2.5 minutes to speak. He spoke a total of 471 words. How many of you have read that speech? Lift your hands. honestly. Sir, I am not talking about faculty, students. It's a shame. I asked this question in Anna University to 1,000 students. Not one lifted his or her hand. In Saranathan College also nobody lifts the hand. The man changed the way the world thinks by just 471 words. Till that time nobody thought one religion could respect, accept another religion. He was the one who went and told, we not only accept other religions, we respect other religions. For us, all gods are the same God. In fact, the Jews came completely devastated in AD 72, and they were strewn in 108 countries in the world. And they also came to India. In 107 countries they were butchered, maimed, raped and killed. The only one country in which they were received, housed, treated equally. And the Cochin king gave the plot next to his temple plot for them to build their synagogue. And he said, your manners are different, your culture is different, your way of life is different. I am giving you a principality, you can rule yourself. You should not be affected by our laws. There was no Article 2930 of the Constitution of India, secularism at that time. It is the Indian culture. The same case with Parsis. They landed 700 years later to the Jews. You know, when Israel was formed, 56,000 Jews from Maharashtra went there. Even today they speak Marathi language in Israel. The Parsis, they landed in the 7th, 8th century. So they came, 300 families came with their holy fire. The king assembled a meeting in Surat and said, these are all Adithis who have come here. And they asked the Parsi priest, what do you want? Sir, we want a place where we can build a temple and put our fire. We want a place where we can reside. We know some agriculture, please give us some agricultural land. Then the king asked, we will give you all this. But what will you do in return? Then he asked, it is all in the Parsi society's recollection of their history. He said, please bring a cup of milk. And he had brought country sugar with him, put the country sugar, stirred it, and asked the king, can you see sugar in it separately? This is how we will make your life sweeter. You know, it is the smallest, tiniest minority in the world, just 50,000. The greatest industrialists, the greatest doctors, the greatest lawyers, the greatest technocrats are from that. Who stopped them? Dadabhai Naoroji said in the year 1919 that a reservation was given for minorities by the British government to divide the Indian society into majority and minority. Dadabhai Naoroji said this is a conspiracy to divide us from the majority community. We don't want this reservation. That was how this nation was built. There was no law, there was no court to protect the minorities. It is the culture, tradition. This is what Swami Vivekananda mentioned. We kept in our bosom the remnants of the ancient Jewish civilization. We kept as a mother does to a child the Parsi culture. There is no Parsi civilization in Iran. Oh! None of you have read this speech, just 471 words. Today, if you have any conscience, you will go and tap your computer. Swami Vivekananda's speech in Chicago. It will take you 3 minutes to read. Please read. We have celebrated the 150th anniversary of the great man. And I am going to conclude my speech with 2 references. You know, Swami Vivekananda traveled India 1880 to 1900. Millions of people died because our food was exported by the British. Where Swami Vivekananda went, it was poverty, hunger, deprivation, backwardness, illiteracy. He went and told the people, we have a spiritual export to make to you with this condition. And he came back in 1897. He told the Indians that forget what is happening today. I am having a vision. My vision is as clear as I am seeing you, I am seeing it. I see Bharat Mata sitting and ruling this world as the Jagat Guru. Anybody would have thought Swami Vivekananda was a madman. That on that condition, he could have such a vision. Today we are celebrating his 150th anniversary. On the 12th of January 2012, the National Intelligence Council of America came out with a report saying in the year 2030, there will be only 3 world powers: America, China and India. What that great man envisioned is being realized today. By 2060, India is supposed to overtake China. The government need not do anything. The media need not do anything. It will happen. That is the drive of demography. Demographic economics was not known 15 years back. We suffer from very high level of ignorance. So now I quote the second incident. Maharishi Aurobindo had come to Pondicherry in 1909. The entire revolutionary movement had been crushed by the British. Till Mahatma Gandhi came, nobody even thought of freedom. People had accepted slavery. They thought the Britisher was better. So Aurobindo was silenced. So everybody was expecting a person like Aurobindo to show lead. But Aurobindo said, I am going to get my lead from this mad man called Kullachami, who was a mystic. He will laugh, he will cry, he will throw stones. Subramanya Bharati has written poems on Kullachami. So Aurobindo was only watching this man. He is going to show me the lead. Everybody thought Aurobindo had become mad. So one day Kullachami came. Aurobindo was having a cup of tea with his colleagues in the backyard of his house. He lifted the teacup in front of Aurobindo. It was full. He emptied the teacup. Tea was gone. And he showed the teacup. It was empty. He placed the teacup and went away. Aurobindo said, I have got my message. People ask, you have lost your tea. What is the message you have got? He said, Kullachami has told me to empty my thoughts and begin thinking afresh. That is my advice and request to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your thought-provoking speech on Indian economy, business, and learning process, and how one can train oneself to be a successful person in life. Really influenced us, sir. Rupa SF second year ME Common System got second rank. Akila L second year ME Power Electronics and Drives got first place. Kanimuri M second year ME Power Electronics and Drives back second rank. Kanimuri from second year ME Power Electronics and Drives back second rank. Subramanian E from second year ME Thermal Engineering scored first rank. Shankar P from second year ME Thermal Engineering scored second rank.
Now let's move on to the Department of MCA. Mrudula B from 3rd year MCA gets the 2nd place. Merlin Sandra of 3rd year MCA gets the 3rd place. Lakshmi Priya Ji of 2nd year MCA gets the 1st place. Hari Priya N of 2nd year MCA gets the 2nd place. Sindhuja K of 2nd year MCA gets the 3rd place.
Let's move on to CSE department. Jasmine Karanchia of final year CSE scored 1st place. Harini Priya T from final year CSE scores 2nd place. Safina Begum from final year CSE bags 3rd place. Kannan M from 3rd year CSE bags 3rd place. Josephine Christiana from 3rd year CSE scored 2nd place. Narmata S from 3rd year CSE bagged 3rd place. Radha S from 2nd year CSE bagged 1st place. Bharati R from 2nd year CSE bagged 2nd place. Anjali from 2nd year CSE bagged 3rd place.
Now let's move on to the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. Sabarin Nisa SM of final year ECE gets the 1st place. Vinodini M of final year ECE gets the 2nd place. Arvind Amresh of final year ECE gets the 3rd place. Vishnu Priyadi of 3rd year ECE gets the 1st place. Lokita B of 3rd year ECE gets the 3rd place. Akila PL of 2nd year ECE gets the 1st place. Karthik R of 2nd year ECE gets the 2nd place. Shruti B of 2nd year ECE gets the 3rd place.
Let's move on to Triple E department. Shanta Devi of final year Triple E bagged 1st place. Yamini TV from final year Triple E scored 2nd place. Sukanya A from final year Triple E bagged 3rd place. Janani R from 3rd year Triple E scored 1st place. Arun Prasad from 3rd year Triple E bagged 2nd place. Niranjani G from 3rd year Triple E got 3rd position. Yadini Lakshmi Priya M from 2nd year Triple E got 1st place. Sangavi V from 2nd year Triple E bagged 3rd place.
Now, let's move on to the Department of Information Technology. Ramya G of final year IT gets the 1st place. On behalf of her, we have our parents to receive the cash prize. Monica Yes of final year IT gets the 3rd place. Vikas Yas of third year IT gets the second place. Abhinaya A of third year IT gets the third place. Rakia Angelin R of second year IT gets the first place. Kritika Valati RM of second year IT gets the second place. Sagaya Priya of second year IT gets the third place.
Let's move on to IC department. Aishwarya C from final year IC backs first place. Ramya R from final year ICE gets second place. Bhuvaneshwari T from final year ICE gets third place. Vasanta PN from third year ICE backs first place. Nivedita IS from third year ICE gets second place. Kapagam G from third year ICE gets third place. Vijay Shanti ICE third year student gets third place. Sorry, first place. Ranjani R from second year ICE gets second position. Supraja T from second year ICE backs third position.
Now let's move on to the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Aravind Kumar R of final year math gets the second place. Karthikeyan C of final year mechanical gets the third place. Rajkumar P of third year mechanical gets the first place. Srinivasan R of third year mechanical gets the second place. Ravindran K of third year mechanical gets the third place. Rupan B of second year mechanical gets the first place. Mansoor Ali Khan A of second year mechanical gets the second place. Ajay Yes of second year mechanical gets the third place.
Pavitra of final year IT, she's back second place. We are very proud of our students and faculties who have achieved 100% attendance throughout the year. They all will receive a cash prize of Rs 2,000 donated by Vidya Sevaratnam Shri K. Santhanam Endowment. The students are Ramya R from IC department. Aishwarya C from IC department. Vanita S from Department of NCA. Congratulations students. Now we will move on to the 100% attendance achieved by our staff members. I would like to call upon our learners principal Dr. A. Revati to receive the cash prize. Our hearty congratulations ma'am. You are the role model for us. Hope the number would be more in the forthcoming years to receive this prize. Next, let me call Mr. Bhupalan from the Department of Computer Application to receive the cash prize.
The following students are going to receive a cash prize of Rs 2,000 donated by Vidya Sevaratnam Shri K. Santanan Endowment. Deepa P. from the Department of MBA. Bhuvaneshwari S. from the Department of MCA. Nilavarasi P. from the Department of CSE. Gururaj M. from the Department of ECE. Ramya Devi from the Department of IT on behalf of her parent to collect the cash prize. Aishwarya C. from the Department of IT. Surya Prakash R. from the Mechanical Department receives a cash prize of Rs 2,000 donated by Mr. T. Vijayan Endowment. Let's all put our hands together to congratulate the best outgoing student overall of our college. The best outgoing student overall among the girls goes to Bhuvana Surya of ECE Department, who receives the cash prize of Rs 3,000 donated by Sembode Shri Ravindran Endowment. The best outgoing student overall among the boys goes to Balaji Ponnangalam AG of Chitri Department, who receives a cash prize of Rs 3,000 donated by Shri R. Nataraja Iyer Endowment, instituted by Shri N. Sheshadri, former principal, National College, Trichy.
Our founder secretary Vidya Sevaratnam Shri K. Santanam was a fountainhead of numerous benefactions. A merit cum means scholarship is given by Vidya Sevaratnam Shri K. Santanam Charitable Trust to the deserving students. Now we have those deserving students here. Akshaya S. from first year CSC. Swarnalakshmi M. from first year CSC. Jyotishwaran M. from first year EC. Rekha S. from first year EC. Harini R. from first year EC. Vinisha Preeti B. from first year ECE. Selvi R. from first year ECE. Balamurugan M. from first year TPE. Priyadarshini V. from first year TPE. Sudarshan S. from first year Mechanical Engineering. And Muthukumar P. from first year Mechanical Engineering. Muthukumar P. from first year Mechanical Engineering. Congratulations students. We congratulate all the prize winners for their wonderful academic achievement. Thank you, sir, for having patience to distribute the prizes and certificates to the outstanding students.
And P. Dr. Y. Venkataramani to propose vote of thanks.
Distinguished Chief Guest, Sri Gurumurthy, respected Secretary, respected Vice President, Director, Principal, members of the Managing Committee, faculty, parents, and dear students. On this, the 16th College Day, we have had the fortune of having Sri Gurumurthy as the Chief Guest to share his thoughts with you and to make you think the way he thinks. He has given you a lot of inputs to think about and act in your future professional as well as personal career. I think the most important message he wants to give is, let us think all of us are Indians and not as Tamilians or Malayalis or Hindi speaking. Let us think of ourselves as Indians. That is the most important message he's conveying to us, and let us be proud of our heritage. We are thankful to you, sir, for the valuable advice and thoughts you have shared with us. I thank all the members of the managing committee who have found time to come over here to be present with us to motivate us. Our thanks to all the parents who are here to watch their wards get awards. But these awards they have got basically because the parents have brought them up in the proper way and looked after them so well. Our thanks to them. Our faculty members have inspired the students and motivated them to achieve better and better, both in terms of learning and in terms of achieving. Our thanks to all the faculty members. Our students, as has been pointed out, are creative, intelligent, and they have shown how to achieve greatness in various aspects of the engineering education of 4 years. Our congratulations to all the prize winners and the would-be prize winners of tomorrow. The members of the press have been here to cover the proceedings of this function. We are thankful to you for coming over here and observing what we have achieved. Our thanks to you. Finally, I thank one and all of you for being present here and making this function a success. Thank you.
अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जाहे तब शुभ आशीष माहे गाहे तब जय गाता जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
So all of you must read Swami Vivekananda's speech. Huh?